Hey guys, I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, and I want to talk to you about what's going to happen Tuesday with our plumbing license. And I want to talk to you as plumbers, as homeowners, as citizens of the state of Texas, as anybody that this can bother, because this affects a lot of people. So, Tuesday, the Sunset Advisory Commission's recommendation goes before the House and the Senate at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And what I wanted to talk to you about are the things that they're going to discuss and what I think that we should do as plumbers or homeowners that might be concerned about this. So, first of all, in the general summary, what they're talking about is the fact that Hurricane Harvey and all the damage that it did not allow us to have enough plumbers in the state of Texas to do what they thought needed to be done. That it went well beyond the industry's capacity of plumbers in the state of Texas. And you know what? They're probably right. And I talked to Lisa Hill right after this happened and said, look, what are we doing? And she said, Roger, we're getting very lax on what our requirements are. And I actually had a plumber come in from California, which those of y'all that know California know there's not any licensing at all there. And she actually worked with me as to what we could do to try to get this person in. So I know that the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners has been trying to help. This isn't just something that was determined by the Sunset Advisory Commission, but to try to base this entire finding on the fact that we had a worst case 1,000-year storm that created such damage that we've never seen, and they want to revamp the entire Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiner system based on that, to me is just completely crazy. And then if you go through and read the report further, they're saying that the affordable housing shortages are due to the fact that there's not enough plumbers. And the fact that we don't have enough plumbers are what's driving the cost of housing up in the state of Texas. And I mean, to me, they're reaching so far out there that to me it's crazy. Now, I understand that the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners has been told to make changes in the past, and they're saying, look, that they're not making the changes they need to make. And on that part, I look at it and I got to agree with a lot of it. There's a lot of things and a lot of changes that could be made that could make things better. And I think that Lisa has been working on a lot of that. Part of the board members have. I've talked to some of them. And a lot of these things that the Sunset Advisory Commission is recommending is stuff that the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners has already been working on. So the fact that since all this has not been done, they want to completely get rid of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners and move it over under the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation, to me doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to go through the rest of the things and let you know my thoughts on them. But here's the deal. If you stay till the end, I'm going to let you know what you need to do. And guys, you need to do it today or tomorrow. And when I mean today or tomorrow, today is Sunday. I'm doing this Sunday evening, but either today or tomorrow, because at 8 o'clock Tuesday morning, this goes to the floor in the House and the Senate to determine what happens to our plumbing license. Now, they talk about the board and agency leaders not responding to the problems that they have. And you know what? I can't disagree with a lot of that. There's a lot of problems there, but I've also talked to Lisa and Steve and people on the board, and they've gone in and said, look, we don't have enough money to do what we need to do. Now, at the end of this, and part of the deal when I get down to the fiscal ramifications of this, it's all about money, guys. And when the plumbing examiner board or Lisa, the director, goes to the state and says, look, we bring in $5.2 million. We're only spending 2.5. We need more money to do our job right. And they say no. That kind of takes a lot of the blame off Lisa, because she has said, hey, look, we do have a problem. There's things we need to do. And they're not giving her the money that she needs to do the job. Now, let me ask you that are business owners. If you made $1 million a year, but the state only said, hey, you only get to keep about 1.9 million of that, could you run your business and do everything you need to do? or would you have to cut corners, and would you fall short in some areas? Because to me, that's what it sounds like is happening. Now, they're saying that the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners only gets to respond to about 62% of the incoming phone calls. Would I be pissed if I was one of the other 38%? Absolutely. But my thing is, you know, as a business owner, I don't always get to every call. Now, I try to call them back if they leave a message or if I see that they hadn't replied. But then again, that's because I can't afford more people in the office. Part of the other deal is there's 1,400 people waiting to take an exam. Now, I've talked to Lisa about this and Calvin about this. And part of the big problem is we've got plumbers that schedule exams that don't actually show up. They don't call and cancel. And those of y'all that have dealt with the Texas State Board understand that you can call down there and say, hey, look, I want to be put on standby. I want to get in as soon as I can, and they will find a way to work with you as long as a plumber calls in early enough and says, hey, look, I'm not going to be able to make it. They'll call some plumbers and say, hey, look, we've got an opening tomorrow or the next day. Do you want to try to come in? And guys, part of that becomes our fault, not the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners' fault. They're saying that the statute and board rules create such a hard process to go through to get your plumbing license or to move up. And I'll tell you what, I'm one of these master plumbers in Texas. I have every endorsement. And was it hard? You know what? I'm not going to tell you it was easy, but if I have every endorsement in Texas, I think it should be hard. I don't want them to just hand out plumbing licenses and endorsements to every jackleg that walks in the building, and that's what it sounds like they're trying to do. I understand that we're not the easiest state to get a plumbing license in, but I take pride in that. I'm one of these plumbers that, look, I enjoy going to Austin. I enjoy taking the test. I enjoy studying for the test. I understand it's not easy to get a license in Texas, and to me, I think we need to keep it that way. If we make it easy and we double the amount of plumbers in Texas, the quality goes down, the price goes down, everything goes down. They're saying that the standard practices that the enforcement board fails to meet the enforcement requirements that they have or should be doing. But then again, we have less enforcement people than we need. We've asked for more money to hire them. You know, the freaking governor, Abbott, won't get off his ass and do something about hiring more people. And then they turn around and blame the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners for not doing their job. Let me ask you again as an owner. You've got 10 plumbers, but you need to hire 3 more, and you can't get to all your calls. Is that fair because somebody won't let you hire those people? I mean, guys, don't get me wrong. I understand that the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners isn't doing everything right, but if we're not giving them all the tools that they need to do that job, I think we need to look at the system, not just the problems that they're having. And another thing they mentioned is the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners' unwillingness to change the status quo. And I know from talking to people here in Dallas and people in Austin both, look, we've been trying to make changes. And changes can't just happen overnight. A lot of these changes and recommendation that the Sunset Advisory Commission has come up with, the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners has already tried working on a system to implement a lot of those things. So, I mean, it's not like all these ideas just came up because somebody down there had a great idea. These are things the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners has been working on implementing. But most of you know to implement new ideas costs money to do it. And, you know, one of the last things in the general summary that they talk about is that moving this over to TDLR would reduce wait times. Guys, if they would give the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners more money to do the things that need to be done, you know, we could implement things that would reduce the wait time there too. There are currently about 1,400 plumbers waiting to get in and get tested. And is that frustrating? Absolutely. Would I be upset if I was having to wait 6 or 8 months to get an exam scheduled? Or not scheduled, but to get in and do it? Yeah, I'd be upset. But at the end of the day, once I walk out of there and I've passed my test, guys, I'm excited. To me, going to Austin has always been a privilege. It's always been It's been like a coming of age. It has been, you walk in to an establishment that's been around as long as it has, and you go through the testing procedure and you do well, it's part of the pride in getting your plumbing license. So the last thing that they talk about, which blows my mind, is the public safety concerns. And the reason being is, as I go through all these different issues they talk about, they never once talk about the public safety concerns. Everything that they're doing here screws over the public. So this is what our senators and representatives are doing. It's all about financial, because they are not doing one thing to make it safer for the people of Texas. The current Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners is very stringent and strict because they take care of the people of Texas. These senators and representatives sitting on their asses on a Sunset Advisory Commission have made these rules and recommendations and changes based on what they think. But they put this crap in here about public safety concerns, and there is not one thing. When you go through this, read it and see if there's one thing that you think makes it better for the public safety. Because this, to me, is the biggest pile of crap in the whole damn thing. So issue number 1.1, they want to transfer the regulation of plumbers to the Texas State Board or Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation and remove it from the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. Me, I don't agree with that. I think TDLR oversees too many other licenses, 39 at the time. And to throw in one more, guys, we're one of a fishbowl of licenses they're trying to oversee. Why not make the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners better? 1.2, they want to fingerprint people to get their license. Guys, I have no problem with that. If we can do things like that to help make sure that we are doing things better and we're getting the right people the right license, that's fine. And if that's what they're calling public safety concerns, guys, I've got to show my driver's license every time I go down to the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners to take a test. So if that's all they're doing, I find that as a surprise. And if that's all they're doing to improve the public safety, instead of, stopping every freaking handyman in the state from going out and doing plumbing, then you know what? Okay, you got to give it to them there. But I don't see that. The other thing is they want to create a working group to be dissolved about a year from now, and they're wanting to remove one of the open public seats on that board and add another plumber, which I think is a good idea. I think the more plumbers we get in here, the more knowledgeable plumbers that we get in here that really want to do things and make things better, I think it's better for all of us. Now, they talk about doing this to help increase the way that plumbers can get their license and make it easier to get a license, but they're wanting to eliminate the drain cleaner restricted, drain cleaner, and residential utilities installer regulations. But it's funny because the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners implemented that so that what we could do is we could help apprentices get in vehicles earlier and get out and do more to where they can make more money. So the fact that they're wanting to eliminate this now, I mean, this really surprises me, because I can take an apprentice, and if I can put him in a van and he can just go do drain cleaning and utilities, guys, I can pay him more money because he's out actually earning an income for me. The next thing they want to do is remove statutory requirements for direct supervision. Guys, I hate to tell you what, this is from the home builders, because the home builders want to be able to send anybody in the world into a house and let them do plumbing. Literally, one of the jacklegs down in Austin when I was there says, look, I got a guy that all he does is set tubs. I need to be able to let him go set tubs. He needs no supervision. And I told Senator Buckingham, when this guy gets fired and he comes to me and tells me he wants a job, he's a plumber, but all he can do is set tubs, I don't need him. So this is one that they're pushing for lack of supervision in order to get a license, so they can put untrained people, somebody that's just trained to set tubs or set toilets, and call them plumbers. That way they can go work by themselves. lack of supervision, and they're saying this is going to better protect the people of the state of Texas. How can you see that? Because I don't understand it. And then they're wanting to require an apprentice or a tradesman classroom hours in order to get their license. And that's fine, and I'm interested in seeing how this turns out. I was an instructor for the union. Now, don't get me wrong, I think there's good instructors in the union, and I think there's crappy ones. There's some that are down there just for a paycheck. But whether it's union or open shop, you're going to get people that just want to make extra money, so they're going to go teach a class. Now, whether they are really teaching plumbing or not, that's what it's going to get down to. Now, the thing is, what if we get guys that are just down there to make a dollar? They're not really teaching these guys plumbing, but this guy gets credit for 2 years from sitting in the same classroom with an instructor that does not teach them anything, and now we're going to call them a plumber and send them out. Guys, there's so many flaws with this thing. It blows my mind because they're wanting to credit people with classroom hours just because they sat in a classroom. I don't think that's always the right way to go, but you know what? What do you think about it? And guys, leave me comments. Let me know down below what you think, because I'm going to tell y'all here in a little bit, we're going to have to get on the phones or emails or websites of our senators and our representatives to tell them what they think. And that's why I'm kind of going through this a little more than normal. Now they want to remove the statutory requirements for the board to require a plumbing license for people to give the written portion of the exam. You know what? I have no problem with that. If the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners creates a written exam and it is proctored by PSI, PCI, whoever does the testing, I have no problem with that, because at least then I know this person sat down and did the same written exam that I've done. And I've had my journeyman license and my master license, so I get it. As long as I understand that they've done the same exams that I've done, I have no problem who gives the test. As long as it's not them just handing them a written test and they're standing there over their shoulder in some place where they went to school as an apprentice or a technical college or something like that, and they're saying, hey, you got number 3 wrong, do it again. As long as it is a legit proctored exam, I have no problem with that. The thing about outsourcing the creation and administration of this exam, I don't like that. I say the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners should put together their own exam, and they can let whoever want to give it, but make sure that we're doing things right and it's the same exam that we're all taking. Don't let different groups create their own exams. Then we've got a problem. They talk about clarifying the board's authority to approve continuing education, course content, and instructors. You know, they've been doing that. So I don't know what the board's authority is or what they're trying to do, but I know that there are different continuing education providers. There's different continuing education sources, and I have no problem with that. What I don't want to see, and I think they talk about it later, is putting it online. And the reason I say that is I've talked to many electricians and TDLR HVAC technicians that say, look, I pay an apprentice or an office person to sit in the office and take my online CE for me. I just tell them, look, read every answer in the book, make sure you look it up and do it. And guys, don't get me wrong, I used to be a CE provider, and I thought that there was some great information there. I understand a lot of plumbers hate it, but a lot of plumbers, that is the only time they literally get in and learn something new every year. So I think it's really critical that we keep that. The next one, they want to authorize the board to establish license terms and rule. I like that. I like the fact that, you know, I've got a master license. Nothing's going to change about that. And my license should be good for 2 or 3 or 4 years or whatever. And those of y'all that know me know I've not only got a master license, but I've got all the endorsements: the master med gas, the master water supply protection specialist, and the master multi-purpose residential fire protection sprinkler systems. I love the fact that they're talking about not eliminating the separate renewal for each endorsement, because I've had problems with the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners not lining it up right, not doing it right. But the good thing is, guys, I've been able to call down there and get it taken care of. It's never been a big problem. Now, issue number 2.8, they want to get rid of the responsible master plumber endorsement. And guys, I have a problem with that, because what this means is basically anybody that can afford to just open up a plumbing company can do it. And the things that I kind of like about it is it puts some of the responsibility on them. But guys, at the end of the day, it's going to be the master plumber that they hire, his responsibility. So I like the way the responsible master plumber is set up. I like the way that it's worded. I'm afraid that what they're going to do, they're going to make it like California, where basically anybody can become a plumbing contractor, and they just start hiring people and calling them plumbers. And that's going to lead to bad issues for all of us. Now in 2.9, that they talk about issuing a temporary plumbing license. And guys, I have no problem with that, as long as that license is issued for a set amount of time and that person still has to go down and take our exam. Now, the ways that I see it getting around that, if you come from a state that your testing requirements are as stringent as ours, I have no problem with it. Reciprocity, I have no problem with it. But if you come from California and you're like, well, look, I've been a plumber for 5 years, that doesn't mean you just get to come to Texas and you're a licensed plumber. Because in Texas, we have testing. In California, you don't. You'll just hand anybody a license. And that's what I don't want to happen to Texas. So that's why this is one issue that I do kind of have a problem with. Now, the temporary license, man, I have no problem with it. If you come from a state that does testing and your testing is good as ours, if yours is as good as ours, you can have the same license here. And they talk about that later. If your testing is not the same as ours, I don't think you just get to come to Texas and get to be a licensed plumber. I don't think it should work that way. Now, in 210, they talk about partnering with third parties for the practical exam part. And, guys, for the most part, I don't have a problem with it. I do think there needs to be more than just downtown Austin. But I will tell you this, every test I've taken has been in downtown Austin. And like I said earlier, I get very prideful about going down there and going through the exam process. Here's my problem with authorizing third-party places. Say that I know an apprentice that went to school in Houston. And he goes to Houston to take his third-party exam, and the person giving him the exam is one of his instructors. And his instructor understands, man, he's a good kid. He's got a great heart. He's got family he's trying to raise. He just can't pass the test. And the instructor helps him out through that. Guys, that's one thing I like about the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. If you go down there and you take that test, you're either going to pass it or you're not. And it's not going to be by favoritism. It's not going to be by anything else. It's going to be because you've got what it takes to pass that exam. That is my only problem with the third-party testing facilities. Now, do I love the idea of having 7 locations around the state? Absolutely. But guys, as a prideful plumber, I'll tell you, going to Austin and walking in the building on 42nd Street, passing your test, that's a big deal. The other one on issues 2.11, they want to simplify the time frame for obtaining continuing education. And I understand that, it starts in July or something like that, and it ends a certain time of year. And you know what? I get it. That's a pain. There's a lot of things that the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners needs to work on. This is one that I think could be rolled over. It really doesn't matter when you take it or what you take it, as long as you're getting the right continuing education for the right endorsement. I think that's the biggest deal. And this is something that, could it use work on? Absolutely. Does that mean we need to pull it out from the Texas State Board and put it under TDLR? To me, probably not. Now in issues 3, they talk about removing the statutory requirement for a plumbing license in order to do enforcement. And guys, here's my only thing that I like about that is a plumber knows what he's looking at. And I've got a friend who's a plumber here in the Dallas area, or I'm sorry, who's an electrician in the Dallas area. He's an inspector for one of the municipalities outside Dallas, and they've got him inspecting plumbing, and he calls me and says, look, I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. So here's what I think. I think electricians should inspect electrical work and plumbers should inspect plumbing work. And the reason being is, guys, if I look at electrical, I'm liable to miss something. And if I miss something that causes somebody's house to set on fire, or worse than that, an electrician misses something on a plumbing exam that causes people to get sick and die, I have an issue when it comes to stuff like that, and I'm afraid that's where we're headed. Now, for 3.2, they want to repeal the Statutory Enforcement Committee recommendation. Guys, I like the Enforcement Committee. I wish that there were more people on it and they could do more enforcement. The fact that we've got handymen running around the state advertising plumbing on the side of their trucks makes me sick every day. This is something that, guys, plumbing affects people's health, and it really can. So this is something that's huge to me. I like the fact that we've got the enforcement committee. I think that there's more that needs to be done on it, which takes me to 3.3. They're wanting to repeal the board's authority to issue criminal citations, which I didn't know they could issue criminal citations, but I think it's a good deal. If they're going to get out and look at jobs, or pull up to a house where they see a plumbing truck outside and ask the guy for his license and he doesn't have it, I think they ought to be able to ask for things like that. Now, here's one of the ones I have an issue with, 3.4. Direct the agency to adopt a risk-based approach before other lower risk activities such as job site compliance checks. Now, it really strikes me funny that they throw in job site compliance checks as a low risk approach. But this goes back to these people, I'm going to be nice and use that word, that are down here fighting for all these changes. They are sending people out on jobs that don't have a license, and so they want that to be a very low risk thing, to where that's low on the totem pole. And guys, to me, we need to look at everything. If we pull up to a job site, and I love Diane Villarreal in Dallas because she used to walk up on a job site and say, I want to see your license. I told her, Diane, you've seen my license 10 times. She'd say, yeah, but I want to see it again because you're supposed to have it with you every time. And if she saw people on my job she didn't recognize, she'd say, look, I want to see their license and their license. If we walked through and people were working on plumbing, she wanted to see theirs. And guys, I think every inspector should do that on every job they walk on. And I just think that's a big deal. For them to say that that's a low hanging fruit type deal, hey, look, that's easy, just let them get by with that. Are there things that are worse? Absolutely. But guys, who's to say that untrained person out on the job isn't going to put in something that's going to kill somebody? And that's what I'm afraid of. 3.5 talks about using or directing the agency to use an informal settlement conferences to help reduce fines and move it through the process quicker. And I know that the Texas State Board meetings, they actually, when somebody comes up with a complaint, they can negotiate and say, hey, look, I don't want to come down there. I'll pay half the fine. I did it, so I just want to pay it and make it go away. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't go away. It goes on their report. But guys, an informal process to collect money, and I get all that. Have no problem with it. Just make sure that we're treating it fairly across the board. Now, 3.6, I actually love. A lot of people don't like it and understand that, but it says direct the agency to publish the disciplinary history online. Guys, look, if you haven't done anything wrong, you shouldn't worry about it. If you have done things wrong, I know why you're complaining about it. Here's my issue is I want them to pick handymen and everybody else and find a way to display their information and what they're doing, because to me, at least we've got a license. Now, we may be doing something wrong, and I don't mean me because I try to do it right, but if we're doing something wrong, you know, should we be able to talk to them and negotiate it and stuff like that? Absolutely. Does it still need to go on my license? Yes. Because I tell people all the time, all you guys out there sending apprentices out, I tell customers, look, if you don't use me, that's fine. But when they send somebody out, ask for their license. Because right now, that's a state requirement, and I think that's a big deal. And I know there's a lot of plumbing companies in my area sending apprentices out all day long. I don't think that's right, but that's what they're trying to do. So that's where I get into the publishing of the disciplinary histories online. Right now, it's the responsible master plumber's responsibility to make sure they're not going out on jobs alone. And I think that needs to show up on his license every time he sends them out. Now, the reciprocity, under the new regulations that they're trying to adopt, the reciprocity agreements with states that have substantially similar licensure requirements. Guys, if their state test is about as strict as ours, I have no problem with it. I think it's a great thing. Now, the other thing says if they're licensed for at least 2 years in another state, when they come to Texas, they get that same license. Now, I have no problem with that as long as their testing is as stringent as ours. If they've got one of those deals where you just pay for a license and say you're a plumber, and 2 years later you think you moved to Texas, you can become a plumber, I don't agree with that part. So there's a lot of things here that I think we need to look at more and determine what the problem is and what we can do about it. Now, the other one is a big one. Direct the agency to review all written exams and eliminate or revise questions that could test on only one plumbing code or that implicate a conflict between the IPC and the UPC. And guys, I've taken every exam in Austin, and I don't think there's really that big a problem between us, so this is kind of funny to me. I've heard people talking about it and say, oh, they're just trying to eliminate all code questions at all. And I don't think that's what this is. But if one code allows flat venting and the other code doesn't, I agree there shouldn't be a test on the exam that says, hey, is flat venting allowed? But I do understand that, you know, guys, the IPC and the UPC in the area I'm at, a lot of different municipalities use different codes, and we've got to know a difference. Now, the Texas State Board, the journeyman exam, the masterman exam, the tradesman exam, you know, I get it. It needs to be something that the guys can pass. I don't think the tests are made to confuse them. I think that they are made to see, does this person understand the act of plumbing? Now, I told you at the end of this I was going to tell you what this is really about, because at the end of their summary, it talks about the fiscal implication summary overall. And it says the Sunset Commission's recommendation to transfer plumbing regulation to TDLR would result in an estimated savings of about $768,000 in general revenue over the next 5 fiscal years. And guys, that's what this whole thing is about. I talked to you and went through about all the different things that they're doing, and the one big one that really it shocked me that they even put it in there, the public safety concerns. Yes, they talk about fingerprinting, but guys, I've had to go down and give my license every time I've gone down and taken an exam. And it's a big deal because I believe in protecting the public. I believe in protecting the safety of the homeowners in the state of Texas. And I think that what we're doing here is we're changing, or we're trying to change the laws and make it where we can let just about anybody become a plumber. And I don't think that's the best thing for the homeowners in the state of Texas. I really think that Texas is one of the most stringent licensing places to get your plumbing license. But you know what, guys? I've always been prideful of that, because I know that when I talk to plumbers in other states, I probably get it more than they do. And I probably understand it because we are a little more strict. But I like that. I love the fact that in Texas, we take pride in our plumbing license. It's not easy to get, and just everybody can't get one. Do we need to make changes? Yes, we do. So guys, if you believe any of this that I've told you, and I'm just telling you a lot of my thoughts, a lot of this are just reading what they said. Today is Sunday, tomorrow's Monday, and you need to get in touch with the senators and representatives that represent you, and I will put links in here as to how to do that. Alicia Dover over at PHCC has put out a great link. You click on it, and it will send a letter to the Texas State Board, or I'm sorry, it will send a letter to your representative and your senator explaining to them that you believe the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners should stay as a standalone agency. Now, I'm also going to put links in here to where you can put in your address and find out who your senator and representative are. And guys, I found out who they were at my house and who they were at my company. That way I could try to talk to all of them. So what I'm going to tell you is Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock on March the 12th, our plumbing license is up in the air. And what you decide to do tonight, tomorrow, maybe even bright and early Tuesday morning, this is supposed to go on the floor at 8 o'clock on the House and the Senate. So guys, I would tell you to reach out before then. I know I've got phone calls scheduled with my senator and my representative for tomorrow, or my senator for sure, my representative I'm trying. So guys, do what you can. Let your voice be heard, because this is your plumbing license. And this is the state of Texas. Let's make sure that we help take care of our people. I hope you'd enjoyed this. If so, please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. And hopefully it works out well for all of us. God bless Texas.